Good evening, listeners. I'm Liza, and tonight I want to share a harrowing experience that transformed what should have been a fun adventure into a nightmarish struggle for survival. This is the story of my friends and me in the infamous suicide forest. It all started last year when my friends Marco, Jake, Anna, and I decided to explore this forest despite the chilling stories we had heard from the locals. They spoke of lost souls, restless spirits, and the many people who had vanished within the woods. But curiosity often outweighs caution, and we were excited for what lay ahead. We set off with backpacks filled with snacks, flashlights, and an air of bravado. When we arrived at the forest, the towering trees loomed overhead, casting long shadows that danced eerily in the fading light. We quickly set up camp in a clearing, and as night descended, we gathered around the fire, sharing laughter and stories to ease our nerves. However, Marco, always the thrill seeker, suggested we try something daring, the game called Spirit of the Glass. With our hearts racing, we formed a circle around a makeshift table. As we placed our fingers on the glass, an unsettling chill swept through the air. The forest grew silent, and the only sounds were the crackling of the fire and our anxious breaths. Marco asked, "Is anyone there?" The glass began to move on its own, spelling out the name Alonzo. The atmosphere shifted dramatically, and an unsettling feeling settled over us. "Maybe we should stop," Anna suggested, her voice trembling. But Marco, fueled by adrenaline, urged us to continue. We couldn't shake the feeling that we were no longer alone. Suddenly, a chilling breeze swept through the clearing, extinguishing our fire and plunging us into darkness. Our flashlight beams flickered, revealing dark figures lurking just beyond our sight. As fear gripped us, shadows began to take shape, and from the darkness emerged numerous demons, each towering and monstrous, with twisted horns and chains wrapped around their bodies. Their eyes glowed with malice, and their chains rattled ominously as they moved. Marco's eyes widened as he exclaimed, "What is that?" His voice was a mix of awe and horror as he stumbled backward. "Run," I screamed, and we all scrambled to our feet. But the demons were upon us, their angry voices echoing through the trees. "You dare disturb us, you will pay the price," one of the demons bellowed, its voice like thunder. In the chaos, I glanced back to see Marco transfixed, his face pale and eyes wide as he stood frozen in fear. "Marco, come on," I shouted, but he didn't move. Instead, he stepped closer to the nearest demon, as if drawn in by an unseen force. The demon loomed over him, its chains clanking as it raised a hand, grabbing Marco by the collar. "You are ours now," it hissed. Panic surged through me. I reached out to grab Marco, but it was too late. The demon yanked him backward, dragging him away into the depths of the forest. "Call me, Liza," he cried, his voice fading into the darkness. I felt helpless, knowing that I couldn't reach him in time. Jake and Anna were screaming, and in the frenzied panic, we turned to flee. But the forest seemed to come alive, the trees shifting as if to trap us. As we ran, I caught fleeting glimpses of more demons emerging from the shadows, each with chains glistening in the faint light. Their snarls echoed as they closed in, and I could see the anguish in the eyes of the trapped souls tethered to the demons. They too were chained, their faces twisted in torment and desperation. "Where do we go?" Anna gasped, tears streaming down her face. "We can't stay here." The sound of chains rattling grew louder, mingling with the howls of the lost souls around us. We sprinted deeper into the forest, the darkness pressing in around us. As we ran, I could feel a chilling presence following us, the demons gaining ground. Suddenly, Jake tripped over a root and fell. "Help," he yelled, but I couldn't stop. The fear surged through me like a wildfire. Anna and I pressed on, our hearts pounding. In the frenzy, we lost track of time and direction. I glanced back and saw Marco again, his eyes wild, but now filled with madness. "Liza," he shouted, but it was clear he was no longer the same. He was entranced, captivated by the demons that had surrounded him. "They're showing me the truth," he mumbled, his voice echoing in the darkness. Desperate, I shouted, "Marco, come back. They're lying to you." But he turned, facing the demon that held him captive, its chains tightening around his neck. The creature's laughter boomed through the trees. He is one of us now, it sneered, and I felt my heart shatter at the sight of my friend being consumed by darkness. In a moment of pure terror, Anna and I pressed on, our breaths ragged as we searched for an escape. But as we turned a corner, we found ourselves back at the clearing where we started, the game still laid out as if taunting us. The spirits surrounding the area wailed in agony, echoing the pain of the lost souls. "I can't do this anymore," Anna cried, collapsing to her knees. "We have to leave." Just then, shadows surged around us, blocking our path. I could feel the weight of despair pressing down, the voices of the trapped souls urging us to flee but pulling us closer to the abyss. Before I knew it, the demons lunged at us, their chains clanking with every movement. I screamed for Anna, but she was pulled into the darkness, her cries swallowed by the night. In that moment, I realized I was utterly alone. The only sound was the chilling laughter of the demons echoing in the depths of the forest. I ran with everything I had, the fear surging through my veins, but the forest twisted around me, leading me deeper into despair. I stumbled into the thicket, the chains of the demons rattling ominously behind me. Finally, I broke through the tree line and collapsed outside the forest, gasping for breath. The night air felt cold against my skin, but I was free. I looked back, my heart pounding in my chest, knowing that my friends were lost forever. Now every day feels heavy with the weight of their absence. The elders in town say the forest hungers for souls, waiting to ensnare anyone foolish enough to enter. My friends' spirits linger in my mind, their voices pleading, asking why I couldn't save them. This is my story, a warning to all who dare to enter the suicide forest. It's a place of shadows and despair, a realm that traps lost souls and demons alike. Remember, some places are better left untouched. Thank you for listening. Stay safe and always heed the warnings.